The police stopped them from getting to the Gaza crossing at Kerem Shalom, so they held their protest at the side of the road.
All the pictures of the children here, of Gazan children that have been killed by our army. Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
Furious. We are here to say no more.
There have been many demonstrations in Israel about the hostages still being held in Gaza. But it's quite unusual to see people holding up pictures of Palestinian children. Of course, these people are on the left, but still, there is a growing concern about what is being done in Israel's name.
Some on the Israeli left thought the war was initially justified because of the October the 7th Hamas attacks. But now they see nothing but cruelty.
Although we are not the majority, the reality is still the same reality of genocide, extermination, famine, transfer and expulsion plans.
Amongst the speakers, reservist Captain Ron Feiner, who faces 20 days in prison starting on Monday for disobeying orders by refusing to serve in Gaza.
Those orders are not moral. They are not serving the security interest of Israel. The only thing they will bring is death of more soldiers, more Gazan civilians, and our hostages. I would prefer to not get punished, but if this is the price I have to pay for making my moral decisions and choices, I'm okay with it.
A counter-protester arrives, asking why they're holding up pictures of Palestinian children when Israeli children have also died. We mourn both, she's told, before the police move her away. Across the road, a small group who say that Israel must continue to attack Gaza were praying and cursing their enemies. The wicked will perish. Those who hate you will be destroyed. Some were ready for an argument with any left-wing protester who ventured over.
We are not attacking civilians. If you are taking babies under the ground and taking babies in your basement and you are a terrorist, don't think we not shoot you. Okay? This is a very, very specific orders. The Arabs make terror. And terror is bad.
And you disagree?
Of course I disagree, because in Egypt we did an agreement with the same Muslims. There is peace in Jordan. We have peace. Agreements make security, not military. And when you say they, the children, the women, they are bombing us.
I think it's a long war. And somebody will give up. Okay? We are not going to give up because this is the land of the Jewish people, I think.
And
The land is of God. The land is of God.
I'm going to leave you two to carry on your argument.
A few miles away in Gaza, they gathered not to protest, but to dig out the dead and injured from the wreckage of a house in Jabalia, destroyed by an overnight Israeli airstrike. About 50 people had been sheltering there. A baby and a child were amongst the dead. Neither protest within Israel nor censure from European countries is stopping the Israeli government from continuing their onslaught. People of Gaza do not have the luxury of argument, just the reality of trying to survive.
Well, joining me now live from Tel Aviv, the former Israeli Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert, who was once in the same party as Benjamin Netanyahu, but is now one of his biggest critics. Thank you for joining us. When we see Israelis accusing their government of war crimes, of genocide, it's a remarkable thing. Do you agree with those people that that's what's going on?
Well, I may not use necessarily the same terminology of genocide. I'll be very hesitant, but the one thing is obvious. What is done now in Gaza is totally unacceptable, intolerable, and unforgivable. We have to stop the war immediately. There is nothing that we can achieve by expanding the military operation that can be of any value. On the contrary, we are likely to use the hostages, to lose the hostages, and to lose soldiers that will fall in battle, and to kill many uninvolved Palestinians in Gaza. None of which is something that worse this military operation. We have to stop it, and we have to try and come to some kind of an accommodation that will bring back all the hostages.
We've seen Netanyahu and his ministers attacking the British Prime Minister, the French President, effectively blaming them, accusing them of anti-Semitism and of feeding anti-Semitism with their language. I mean, what is happening to Israel's international relationships?
Look, we certainly disagree completely with this language, which is absolutely obnoxious and outrageous. Great Britain Prime Minister Mr. Sturmer, President Macron, Prime Minister Carney of Canada, all are friends of the Jewish people and the State of Israel. There's no question about it. They may not be friends of the Israeli government. I'm not a friend of the Israeli government. And the majority of Israelis, I believe, today are not friends of the Israeli government. So, yeah, we are all victims of this very aggressive government. Prime Minister Netanyahu is a captive of these messianic groups of extreme right-wingers, fundamentalists, Ben Gvir and Smotrich and their supporters. And I think it is going to cost Israel a great deal in the international relations. Yes, however, I can't criticize President Macron, Prime Minister Sturmer, or Prime Minister Carney, or Prime Minister Meloni, or Prime Ministers of other European countries, because I also criticize the Israeli government for more or less the same things. So, and I think that most of the Israelis feel like me. They think that the war should end today and that we should bring all the hostages, and there is no reason and no wisdom and no moral foundation for killing so many innocent, non-involved people in Gaza. It has to stop.
The opinion polls keep suggesting, as you say, that a majority are against this going on, but the Israeli political process does not deliver that right now and doesn't look like it will in the foreseeable future.
Well, as you know, you are a democracy in Great Britain. You know that sometimes government has a majority when everyone knows that the majority of votes in parliament does not necessarily reflect the attitude of most of the people. You were in a similar situation in Great Britain last year. For most of the year, 2024, there was a government, and everyone knew that Labour is going to win the elections big time. But as long as there was a majority in parliament, they could do certain things. So we are rioting in the streets, hundreds of thousands of Israelis, day in, day out, and we are taking all kinds of protest actions against this government, trying to overthrow the government in a democratic manner, of course, by adding actions against this government, and maybe also the international pressure and the attitude of countries which are known to be traditionally very friendship to the State of Israel. British people, French people, the Canadian people and their leaderships, they never were against the State of Israel. They are against the government, and if they will carry on in expressing their attitudes, it may be very helpful to the public opinion of Israel.
Well, I mean, should they go beyond that? There are calls for sanctions against members of the Israeli government. Do you think that kind of pressure would be a good idea by countries like Britain and those in the European Union?
I'm tempted to say something which might sound cynical. If Britain will put sanctions on Ben Gvir and Smotrich, they will not be allowed to go to Britain. And some people would say in Israel they had better go to Britain and not come back. So I don't know whether these sanctions. Yeah, I think that I'd not like that the state of Israel and the people of Israel will suffer from, for instance, economic sanctions, as the Europeans are threatening to take, and Great Britain talking about trade agreements with Israel, which may be cancelled, which will affect the Israeli people. I very much hope that we will not come to that point, but if we will come to that point, I think it will be clear that the guilt for this lies entirely on the shoulders of the Israeli government.
And if you're right that Israel may change its government one day in the future, would you want to see that government delivering international law to effectively hand over Netanyahu to face criminal charges?
Well, my desire, and I think the desire of many Israelis, is that Netanyahu will disappear forever from the landscape of our political and public lives. Okay? So I think at this time, what we are interested in is making a political change that will bring down this government and will allow more decent, more responsible, and more humane people to take over, and that they will be dedicated to what I think is the main objective of Israel, to conclude once and for all the historic conflict between us and the Palestinians, to proceed rapidly into a two-state solution negotiations between us and the Palestinians, which is the only possible way to resolve this conflict. This is what I was trying to do when I was prime minister. Unfortunately, at that time, Palestinian leadership was not courageous enough to come along on this path, but there is no alternative, and this is what the new Israeli government will have to do, and I hope that the Palestinian leadership at that time will be compatible in terms of its openness to take part in this effort. And what will be the personal fate of Netanyahu is less important in as long as he will disappear completely from the landscape of our political and public life.
Ehud Olmert, thank you very much indeed.